young people that are taking the lead, I want to recognise this. I do have a speech. So I will try and make it as interesting as possible. I know sometimes, yes, it's good that we explain things, but I think sometimes we underestimate how much kids already know and young people already know. I'm really pleased to be part of this session. I also want to recognise our colleagues from other European countries that are here, and what a great example of that European cooperation in this country as well. So I'm excited to be here with the diverse participants that I've mentioned, and particularly to discuss what we call child-friendly municipalities. It's what we call child-friendly cities. It's been a program that we've had for quite some time, and it's where every child grows up in an environment where they feel safe and secure, where they have access to basic services, clean air and water, can play, can learn, can grow, and where their voices are heard, and it matters, and people ask what is important. I think what I want to say also is not just their parents want votes for them, but the kids are not too far behind voting themselves, right? So in the next couple of years, the kids themselves will not vote. And it's something that I often talk about with young people, is that the power of young people is not about tomorrow. They are not the leaders of tomorrow. Look at these guys, they're the leaders of today. Right? Sometimes I'm a bit youth participatory as well from the stage. It's not going to be about what UNICEF can provide, though I'm going to tell you a few of the projects that we do have, but it's not about what UNICEF can provide. We've had, I want to also tell you some statistics. 6 out of 10 young people in this country believe they don't have any impact on the way that authorities work. And 85% reported that they are not consulted. That's a lot. That's the majority. To address the challenge, I think we've all heard about the 2020 law on youth participation and youth policies, which mandated local governments to create effective local councils. So far, only 19 out of 81 have youth councils. 19 out of 81. Now, maths was never my good subject, but that's not what, we're in a third. So let's continue to really create that space in the municipalities. We as UNICEF, launched an app called YouReport. I hope you've all downloaded it. If you haven't, we'll let you know about it. Where we have asked young people on various topics what's important to them. And we use that information to advocate with the policymakers, with the ministers and with government. There are currently over 1,000 new reporters, as we call them, and that's not a majority of young people in the country. And so far we've consulted on topics such as climate change, online safety, which is very important, cyberbullying, youth participation, and many others. YouReport was also used as a major way of getting young people to participate and give their opinions on the National Youth Strategy, which was just launched this year, between 2023 and 2027, the youth strategy. 2 years ago, UNICEF had a partnership with the Office of the President Penderovsky to launch the National Youth Consultation Process, which identified the very important issues for young people in the country, particularly following the COVID-19 pandemic, which was traumatic for all of us, by the way. Some of us are still getting over the trauma. Over 700 young people were engaged, and what we did was we had a youth call to action, and we presented that later on, the outcomes of that, on World Children's Day with mayors, parliamentarians and other decision makers. We also supported the development of the first program for child and youth advocates for justice for children, in which 60 young people from different socioeconomic backgrounds all over the country participated, including children in state care and children in the correctional facilities. This program provided a platform for children to develop different initiatives and mechanisms for access to justice, but also enabled meaningful child participation in the development of crucial documents such as the Strategy for Prevention of Justice for Children. We've got a program I'm trying to make it as interesting as possible, and plus also give you enough details and data. We all know that education is important. should start. And in this country, we don't participate very much in early childhood development education, in preschool. 20% of children in rural areas don't attend. No, just 20% attend, right? 20% attend, and 80 don't. I did this yesterday at a conference on discrimination, where I got my numbers a bit mixed up. As I said before, maths was not my best subject. But 20% of rural children attend preschool. Only 40% in the cities attend. So that's not good enough. Those are all those children who are not prepared to start school when they're 6 years old. And we see that preschool is important to prepare ourselves for school. We have a program working with the World Bank on optimising the budget. In this, we're working directly with 10 municipalities and 10 mayors. Some of them are the ones that you mentioned in this project as well, I'm very proud to say. And we're looking at how we can make the education system much more efficient. Mayors will also contribute to making their municipalities child-friendly by developing local social protection programs, local councils for preventing children getting into conflict in the law to start off with, parenting support centres, mental health and psychosocial support services, amongst many others, also including gender-based violence. In terms of children and youth with disabilities, municipalities have a very important role to play in making sure that all citizens in their areas have accessibility and can enjoy all of their rights, not just physical but also attitudinal barriers, that's discrimination. Mayors and local councils can work to ensure that public transport is accessible, sidewalks and all public spaces are adapted to wheelchair users and the visually impaired, and all services, institutions and residential buildings are accessible to all children. Environment and climate change is something that young people consistently say is important to them. And we do have a program that is looking at air pollution, but also consulting young people in solutions for climate change which are locally developed by young people and implemented. With the Agency for Youth and Sport, young people are being involved with us in having decision-making on environmental policies and measures. I want to finish with a story that I think those of us from North Macedonia may remember. When we started the optimisation project, I was meeting with different mayors. This was about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, when we were about to go into the energy crisis. And there were many mayors who were saying that to save on energy prices, they would close down schools. To save on energy prices, they would close down schools. So I said with my team, when we meet with the mayors, I'd like to advocate that they don't close down schools. This should be the first thing that mayors don't do, especially for poor children. They would go home to cold houses. But also after COVID-19, we also had so much educational loss that we couldn't afford to close down schools. And when I was talking to some of the mayors, you know what one of them said, and I'm glad he's one of the mayors that you mentioned, that with the cost of the savings from his budget, he had solarised all the schools in his area, and therefore there was no problems about keeping school going. And this is what the child-friendly cities is about. Let's continue to keep children at the core of all of our policy making and not look to funding from the EU, not look to funding from the UNICEF, but optimise the budgets that we have and make all of it, not just the education budget, about making the community more child-friendly. I like that story because it also makes the community a lot more environmentally friendly as well. And by solarising, we not only saved money on energy costs, we managed to keep children in school, but nobody but the mayor and the council organised that and did it on their own. So I'd like that to be really a great case study of a decision making on my mind on how to start, we didn't finish, how to start having child-friendly cities. We as UNICEF will continue to support not just the services, but getting opinions and participation of young people. And I really want to thank you for giving me the opportunity. I know I've talked for a long time, a lot longer than you, but hopefully that you enjoyed it and you've got something out of what I said. Blagodaram and Gotovo from me.